The diplomatic seal clicked onto the podium with a sound that was wrong. Not the crisp magnetic lock of standard protocol, but a wet, organic snap that made Ambassador Hawkins's hand twitch, and she looked down to find a thin, translucent filament still attached to the metal, curling like a question mark around Earth's emblem. She did not pull her hand away. She did not call for security. Hawkins had spent 20 years in naval intelligence before this diplomatic appointment, and every gesture calculated, every word a data point. The council chamber hummed around her with 9 species precession chemistry, their confidence pheromones mixing with the recycled air, and she sat on the lowest ring, the smallest platform, central, with the clearest sight line to every delegation. The filament pulsed once. A question she would not ask. Not yet. Hawkins removed her left glove first, the motion automatic, unremarkable, a habit from her intelligence days, checking for surveillance devices she knew were no longer there. Her thumb pressed the hidden pressure point on her palm as she did so, the old signal for all clear, and the translucent strand wrapped tighter around her wrist, almost invisible against her skin, drinking the light from the chamber's bioluminescent fixtures. The membrane of her left hand, rarely exposed to council air, showed the faint discoloration of old scars, tissue damage from a training accident 3 decades past, something she never mentioned in her diplomatic file. The council speaker called the session to order. The spherical chamber shifted to voting configuration, tiered rings rotating slowly to face the central display where Earth's 340 outposts blinked as seized assets. 9 species raised their appendages in the formal assent gesture. 9 affirmative signals registered. Unanimous. 340 human colonial outposts along the rim, transferred to collective accord jurisdiction, effective immediately. The administrative machinery of galactic governance claiming territory it had not earned, using procedure as weapon. Hawkins cataloged each species' chemical signature as they voted, the sulfur tang of the Krexthi delegation, the electromagnetic hum of the Vasari representatives, the crystalline vibration of the Eldari observers, recording biological tells she had memorized across 6 cycles of bureaucratic service, the tells that now meant nothing because the vote was predetermined before the session was called. Hawkins bowed, deep, formal, precise exactly as protocol required, and when she rose, her hand was still resting on the podium's edge, the filament now threaded between her fingers like a seamstress's needle, and no one saw because no one was looking at her hands. They were looking at her face. The mask she had perfected over 20 years of service, first in naval intelligence where every breath was weighted, every silence strategic, then in diplomatic corps where every gesture was performance. The mask that had just smiled at Nexer when he confirmed that unanimous votes carried unanimous consequences, his swarm nodes flickering with the micro-delays of individual calculation breaking through collective coherence for the first time in recorded council history. The council voted unanimously to seize our territories, Hawkins said. We appreciate the clarity. She removed her hand from the podium. The seal remained, clicking softly to itself, the wrong sound still echoing in the recycled air. The filament, released from her grip, hung suspended from the metal disc for 3 seconds before the magnetic lock finally engaged. Crisp, correct, and far too late, pulling it flat against Earth's emblem. Hawkins turned and walked toward the exit, her posture unchanged, her pace unhurried, and behind her the chamber began the murmur of post-vote procedural discussion that would continue for hours, the sound of 9 species already negotiating the division of 340 assets they had not yet taken possession of. The exit portal recognized her biometrics and opened. Hawkins did not look back. The corridor outside the council chamber smelled of ozone and recycled coolant, the standard atmosphere of Axiom Prime Station that Hawkins had walked through 11 times before without noticing. She noticed now. She walked toward her quarters, the diplomatic section that would empty by morning. Her staff already evacuated per protocol she had written herself 6 months ago, buried in budget subsections where no aide would think to look. Her thumb rubbed the pressure point on her palm again, the old all-clear signal, but the filament had wrapped deeper now, past the wrist, visible through her translucent skin as a faint silver network beneath the surface. The infection she had carried for 3 years, since the Proxima incident, since she had understood that diplomatic immunity meant nothing if the diplomatic object itself became weaponized. Hawkins stopped at her quarters entrance. The door recognized her biometrics, opened, closed behind her. Inside, standard diplomatic layout, minimal, functional. The gift basket sat where the service drone had placed it, citrus fruits from Earth's hydroponic gardens, a bottle of distilled water, paper documents she would never read. She sat. She reached for an orange, and the first time in 6 cycles her hand shook. The filament pulsed in her forearm, a heartbeat she had learned to ignore. Hawkins peeled the orange slowly, the ritual of normalcy, the motion of her thumb pressing into citrus oil, the scent sharp and clean and earth-ordinary, and she watched her hand as she did so, the silver network becoming more visible in the moisture. The threads she had told herself were containment protocols, the threads that were actually something else growing, learning her biology, preparing for this moment. The vote had been unanimous. She had asked the procedural clarification, whether unanimous votes carried unanimous consequences, and Nexer had confirmed yes, cheerfully, the collective accepting shared responsibility for what followed. Hawkins understood mathematics. 340 outposts, 9 species, unanimous decision. The arithmetic was perfect because she had spent 20 years designing it. She separated one orange segment, placed it in her mouth, bit down, and saw the filament pulse once, twice, 3 times, rapid, urgent, the rhythm of a distress signal she had not programmed. Her quarters communication array chimed. Not the council frequency, not any official channel. The light indicated personal, encrypted, Earth origin. Hawkins swallowed the orange, bitter with sudden adrenaline, and touched the array with her clean right hand. Receive. The voice that emerged was young, human, female Aisha, 7 years old, her niece, the chalk drawings on Hawkins's wall in her quarters on Axiom Prime, the blue chalk elephant she had touched after winning, the detail that made the vast scale personal. Aunt Elena? The news said, we saw the ships. Mom says you're not coming back. Are you not coming back? Hawkins looked at the filament in her hand, the silver threads now pulsing continuous, the distress signal she had not sent. Tell your mother, Hawkins said, her voice steady, the orange still bitter on her tongue, that I said yes to the council. That's all I said. Yes. She disconnected. The filament went dark. Not dormant, dead. The silver threads that had grown through her forearm, that had learned her biology, that had been her secret weapon and her silent companion through 6 cycles of service, retracted into the subdermal network, waiting. Hawkins stood alone in her quarters, the citrus oil drying on her fingers, the scent of earth, the weight of 340 outposts pressing on her chest like atmosphere at depth. She had not told them, had not warned them, had bowed and smiled and accepted the clarity. Outside, beyond her window, the shadow of Axiom Prime's moon moved across the station's hull, and in its darkness, something vast shifted position. 200 vessels. 300. More. Their drives masked by frequency matching to the cosmic microwave background, invisible to every council sensor array, visible only to the woman who had planted them there, who had prepared the mathematics, who had counted on unanimous decisions carrying unanimous consequences. The mathematics was perfect. Hawkins pressed her palm against the viewport glass, the scar tissue from her training accident 3 decades past aching in the cold, and she watched the shadow of her own fleet block out the stars. The quiet close was not understanding. The quiet close was watching.